Well, hello everyone. Thank you very much to DYW to inviting us along today. My name is Chris and I am the officer for Reach Tayside. We're an organisation based out of the University of Dundee, government funded. We're here to support young people from less advantaged backgrounds who are interested in getting into the high demand professions, aka medicine, dentistry and law. But we're here today more broadly just to speak about university from my point of view, first of all, and how to get into the high demand professions for everyone. And then we've also got Lizzy, who's one of our student ambassadors. And Lizzy, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Yes, my name's Lizzy and I'm one of the final year students at Dundee Dental School at the moment. So I'll just talk a bit about why I love teeth so much.
Brilliant, great. Well, I'm just going to start without further ado with sharing my screen and my PowerPoint. Please do let me know if something's gone wrong. I studied at university politics, not IT, unfortunately, so that might be my downfall. But without further ado, let's get cracking. So as I mentioned, the first thing I'm going to do is speak about university broadly and why it's such a brilliant thing to get into and all the many advantages that it can offer. Then I'm going to focus on university in terms of getting into medicine and dentistry. And then finally, we're going to look at what you can do in the meantime for your young people. And if you're a young person yourself, what can you actually do between now, whether it's S2, S3, S4, and actually getting into university? Because there's plenty that you can be getting on with, from research to getting some experience, which is absolutely crucial when it comes to the high demand professions. And then we'll be moving on to Lizzy, who's going to give us some real proper insight into dentistry and what it's like. So it's going to be really good. So university. Why go in the first place? University, guys, is one of the most underrated, I think, resources Scotland has. Never mind whiskey or oil. University is we have amazing world-class institutions that really are world-beating. Thousands of subjects are on offer. Difference from high school is that, for example, you might study a broad selection of topics, but when it comes to university, there's thousands of subjects to focus on, and you'll pick one or two, maybe three tops, and you'll focus with a lot of depth on them. So it's an absolutely wonderful resource. It's great for enhancing your career. It's an absolute must when it comes to some vocational careers like teaching, medicine, veterinary science, and it's also really good, broadly speaking, for a lot of work experience. If there's anyone who's trying to get work experience out there, it's not so bad when you're when you're sort of 16 years old kind of age and part-time work. But when it comes to leaving school, a lot of jobs that you might really be aspiring to, they'll ask for a degree as a minimum sometimes. So it's a really good route for you. One of many as well. It's really good for your pay packet as well. On average, it's estimated that men earn over £170,000 more across their lifetime, and even more for women with higher education qualifications. And it's a great way to meet people and develop skills. It's more than just a piece of paper, though, which is really important to emphasize, because that's sometimes what people focus on in terms of the subject. It's a great opportunity to really develop yourself as a person. First of all, you're going to live a lot more independently, whether you're still living at home or if you go into what's called halls of residence, which are basically like I don't want to say hotels, that makes it sound too fancy, but basically university accommodation where you get to meet and stay over with people the same kind of age as you. Usually there's a shared kitchen, and that's where you kind of learn about yourself a lot, because that's just as much about the school of life. Personally, I went to halls of residence and I burned toast. I was useless. I actually kind of still burn toast, but not as badly now. And that comes from actually living by myself and actually sorting myself out for the first time in my life properly. I didn't know about what temperature to put my clothes at without ruining them, and when in the washing and all that kind of stuff. And taking that more life responsibility is great. And you just get to hang out with people your own age from all over the world, which is also brilliant. Good way of making friends as well. Lots of student societies as well. If you think about the societies that you might have in high school, actually times it by 10 or 100 at university. Just used an example of Stirling University, for example. They've got everything from African Caribbean Society, Anime Society, Computing Club, Disney Appreciation Society, all kinds of stuff, Law Society, everything. I found my one, World Cuisine Society. That's definitely one I would join. There's so many people with a lot of talent and passions that you get to meet a lot of amazing people. Another thing that's really great about university is that there's opportunities to study abroad in a lot of subjects. University in Scotland have links with universities all over the world, and usually it's covered as part of your tuition largely to go in second and third year, depending on the degree and the university you go to these different places. For example, my sister Laura studied environmental science at Stirling University, and she got the opportunity to study at a university in Canada for a year, and she had an amazing time. So it's a great opportunity to get that kind of life experience that otherwise wouldn't really be available to you once you enter into the career world, depending on what you do. And finally, there's lots of opportunities to enhance your careers as well. Now, that all sounds wonderful, but where can you actually do a bit of digging? And one website I really wanted to highlight that isn't typically highlighted for S2s and S3s is UCAS. You wouldn't have heard of it, well, you might not have heard of it before, unless you maybe have older brothers or sisters, cousins who are applying to university, but it's usually something that you would look at with your teachers in S5 and S6 for applying to university. But I think it's really useful to highlight now because it's important to do your research, whatever it is you want to do. UCAS essentially is the middleman between applying for yourself and your course and university, but it's also a great place to explore courses. So if you're really interested in, for example, looking at courses in Scotland, all you have to do is type in your subject. Let's go with business, why not? Search, and it'll give you all the kind of opportunities starting from A to Z, so Aberdeen first, of all the different courses. And as you can see, there's quite a variety out there. You can quite easily just click on one, and you can find out a lot more information about it, such as, for example, the entrance requirements, the course summary. The only thing to be aware of in UCAS is it's a pan-UK website, which means that it covers English grades and Welsh grades as well. So, for example, you might see things like A-levels and stuff. Ignore that. Just focus on the hires that's required. You can then go into the website itself, the university website, to find out more info. Another really good thing is that you can take a look at things beyond the courses, such, for example, there's a great chat to students function. So if you want to find out what university life is like, there's lots of students, depending on the subject and the university, where you can actually talk to them about how they think, so you can kind of get an unbiased view. So there's lots of really cool stuff. Really recommend you do your exploring now, and that'll become obvious for reasons I'm just about to get into now. So that covers university and why it's so brilliant, but what about the high demand professions? So the really competitive ones where there's lots of applications, there might be extra steps in terms of the application side of things that's really important to be aware of. And I'm going to focus, as we would at Reach, in medicine and dentistry, just to give you some examples. So with medicine dentistry, you've got choice of 5 schools in Scotland for medicine, and you've got the 2 for dentistry when it comes to undergraduate courses. That means courses that you'd enter into when you first start university. Covers everywhere from Aberdeen to Glasgow. Dentistry is a lot more limited, and it's important to be aware of that for Dundee and Glasgow. There's also a postgraduate course in dentistry at Aberdeen you can do, which means if you complete a degree in something else, you can maybe go into the postgraduate course, but the main options you'll have is Dundee and Glasgow when it comes to Scotland. When it comes to the most competitive applications, you have to be aware of a couple of things, and I'm not going to go on a huge amount of depth for time reasons, and also you don't need to worry about it if you're an S2 and S3 so much. But you need to think about the academic requirements, that is the grades. You have to set a special test called the UCAT, and you have to make your UCAS application, which is the website I just covered there. And that will, assuming you do well enough in your grades and your UCAT and your UCAS, may get you an invite to an interview, and from the interview onwards you can get an option to study at hopefully a university of your liking in that course, hopefully. It's really important to be aware that medicine and dentistry, they also have a shorter deadline compared to most deadlines. With most degrees, apart from Oxford and Cambridge, you've got until about late January, usually of the year that you're applying. But with medicine, dentistry, veterinary, Oxford and Cambridge, it's October the 15th of the previous year. So, for example, those applying who are hoping to get in September this year, those S6s, they already had to apply by October 15th. So it's a much shorter deadline. I'm not going to go into a huge amount of depth regarding the grades requirements. I'm just going to highlight the important things, because obviously looking at this table is enough to put anyone off, but I'm just going to highlight the important things to be aware of. Right now, as of this year, these are the entrance requirements to get into the different courses when it comes to medicine. So, for example, 4 A's and a B as standard as the hires that you need at Aberdeen, Dundee, 4 A's and a B, etc. You need something called essential subjects. These are subjects that you must take when it comes to medicine and dentistry, or any course. You need to make sure you know what your essential subjects are. And those are chemistry, and at Glasgow, chemistry and biology for Glasgow. There's also national fives that you need, which is why you need to do your research in advance, because unfortunately we come across too many S5s and S6s who are really keen on a course who didn't realize they needed a Nat 5 in English at a grade B, for example, and actually might miss out. So it's really important that you're aware of what you could potentially need as well. One thing I also want to highlight was that when it comes to additional subjects, it's a bit of it's not quite true that you need to take all three sciences necessarily when it comes to applying for medicine now. For example, they just want 2 from biology, human biology, maths, or physics. For example, at Aberdeen, Dundee's just looking for 1 other science, for example. So it's not necessarily true that or an assumption you need to make that you need to take all 3 sciences as your subject choices. So just be aware of that, and it pays to do your research. For Dundee, for dentistry, you're looking at 4 A's and a B as minimum in the first sitting, which is important to be aware of. It's a bit different for most courses. Glasgow, 4 A's and a B at higher, plus a B at advanced higher. And there's some minimum considerations. And the additional requirements are biology and chemistry, for example, at Glasgow, is where to be aware of. So there's a few things to always be aware of, what's essential and what's needed when it comes to these courses. Now, one thing that's really important to be aware of is the backups that you can make, because you'll get 5 choices when you apply, but you'll only have the 4 options when it comes to medicine, and you'll only get the 2, obviously, when it comes to Glasgow and Dundee when it comes to dentistry, on top of other things. So it's important to think about, okay, well, I've got these courses, but what happens if I don't quite make it, or is there a sort of plan B safety net just in case? So consider things like biomedical sciences, anatomy, pharmacy, etc. Dentistry, it's a bit more limited. Technically, it's a bit of a misnomer to call it a backup for oral health science, because it's just as difficult practically to get in. But there are the life sciences to consider. And it's also important to know that a lot of really smart, a lot of talented student ambassadors that I've met, and Lizzy, I'm sure will agree, that actually, like, they're very talented, but they just didn't quite get it in the first year, and they did a bit of work experience, or they took a year out and then they reapplied, and now they're sitting it. So don't be put off necessarily, because these are very, very competitive courses we're talking about, and that might be an option you need to consider. Great. It's really important also to get some experience and insight, things like part-time work, Volunteer Dundee, Duke of Edinburgh, anything that can give you that extra experience. Unfortunately, I meet too many S2s and S3s, and also even S6s, where I say, okay, what kind of experience have you got? And they kind of just shrug their shoulders at me, basically. But actually, you don't need to necessarily get work experiences in a dental office or at a GP's directly. They're looking for that more transferable skills. So, for example, that empathy for others, that independent, like that self-organization, that research that you've done. So it's those kind of things that are really important. It's really important to do a couple of things between S4 and S6 to prepare. You really need to do your research. So when it comes to medicine and dentistry, really important, you can highlight the Reach Tayside website. We've got all kinds of resources, including online events, the different published research that's on offer, online courses and different things to take a look at. So really recommend taking a look at our website. You can do your extracurricular activities, your voluntary work experience, explore UCAS, look at those university websites, see what they're looking for and what kind of opportunities you can get. When it comes to S5, the grades are also really crucial. So make sure, what do you need in your first sitting, particularly for medicine and dentistry, because a lot of S5, in fact, it's arguably the most important year in terms of grades rather than S6. So it's really important to be aware of what you need to get. You can look at university open days. You need to look at things like the test eventually. And if you're needing support with that, there are organisations out there like Reach Tayside that offer that support. And then finally, you'll need your grades, but that's also when you'll be making your application in S6. And that's when all the things like UCATs and interviews and things like that are on offer. So covering a lot there, obviously, but the most important thing is to do your research about what you might like to do, even if you're not sure about a career just yet. find out what those Nat 5s you need are, what kind of experiences they're looking for. And as I say, get those experiences, do your research as best as you can. Don't leave it until S6 to start applying. Yes, you might not know what career exactly you might want to do. That's totally fine. But that doesn't mean you can't do your research about what options are out there, because you might be discounting a career that you don't know about, or courses that you're completely unaware of, or you might not be choosing the right subjects depending on the course. So it's important to make sure you're thinking about that for S4, S5, and S6. Great, so that's me finished. I'm now going to move on to Lizzy, and then we can focus on any questions that you've got. And I hope you found that informative. And feel free to take it away, Lizzy.
Brilliant. So like I said before, my name's Lizzy, and I'm in my final year of dentistry. So let me just get my PowerPoint up. And I'm basically here to tell you why I love dentistry so much. As Chris will know, every year at Reach, I try my best to drag all the students into dentistry. Rarely succeed, but I try my best. So I'll just kind of go through what it's like and what to expect. So to start off, if you want to be a dentist, you've got to go to uni. No two ways about it. And it's a 5-year degree. So it's a fairly long time, so it's the same length as medicine. You have the chance to make it 6 years, so you can intercalate, which is what they call when you get an extra degree in the middle. So you can do 2 years of dentistry and then say, take a year out and get a degree in maybe another area of healthcare that interests you, maybe something like public health, or viruses, or anything that sort of anatomy, anything that you find a little bit interesting. You can get that extra degree and then you can come back and finish dentistry. And what you'll do at uni will be a mix of the theory and the practical, and this is why I love dentistry so much. It's so hands-on. You will be constantly working with your hands, and really kind of getting in there, whether that's sort of in dissections, whether you've got sort of microbiology labs, or whether it's your actual dental clinics. And I think that's a really important distinction to make between dentistry and honestly any other course. In dentistry, you have your own patients, and I don't know another course that actually does that. And even medicine, you're not really getting that same experience. By the time you're in final year of dentistry, you are a dentist. They just check up on you. And that's what I kind of really love about it. And it's exam based and continuous assessment. So you'll have exams at the end of the year, but your clinical work will get assessed every single time you're on clinic. You'll get marked, which is quite nice. That means that that's not stressful. It's just kind of always going on in the background. And the exams, to be honest, is one of the reasons I picked the course. You'll know as you start doing sort of like Nat 5s and higher whether or not you like coursework or whether or not you like exams. I hate coursework. I'm terrible at it. I have no motivation, but I like exams. Well, I don't like them, but I like them more. I think it's really important to pick a degree where the examination style is something that you get along with. So if you're terrible at exams and they just give you so much fear, but you're quite good at coursework and you can deal with it sort of going on through, it's quite handy to pick a degree that's coursework based, and that's the majority of your assessment. So that is something just to sort of think about for yourself. And then Chris was saying, you know, sometimes in degrees you get the opportunity to study abroad. That doesn't happen so much in dentistry because we're very on clinics, on patients. You can't really take time off. But what we do get the opportunity for is elective, which is basically at the end of your 4th year, and I believe Glasgow does this as well. You get to go anywhere in the world and do dentistry. And honestly, it's incredible. Unfortunately, mine got cancelled because of the pandemic, but I was going to go to the Amazon and take a boat up and down the river, and stop at all the villages on the way and do dentistry, and that was going to be my whole summer. I'm absolutely gutted that I missed it, but it would have been such a good experience. So you can get things like that out of it, which is always handy. So why do I like dentistry? That's probably the best way to put it. Number one, it's practical. I knew I didn't want a job where I sat at a desk or worked in an office, you know, I've done my time in retail, I've done my time as a receptionist, and it wasn't what I wanted to do with my life. I wanted something hands-on, and at the base of it, dentistry is a practical degree. If you are good at working with your hands, if you enjoy working with your hands, this is honestly ideal. It's so practical, and it's patient-centered as well. You will meet so many people and you will talk to them, and it's amazing the trust that people put in their dentist. They will tell you everything and anything, and you really get a bond with people. I really love that. You get such a broad range of patients as well. You'll see everyone from like new babies who have just got maybe their first tooth through to, you know, people in retirement homes who've lost all their teeth and you're making them dentures. You see absolutely everybody. And it's so flexible as well. Dentistry is a good career if you want a life where you can choose things. And this sounds really sort of shallow to say, but it is worth thinking about what kind of life do you want to have. Maybe you want a family and you only want to work a couple of days a week. Dentistry is brilliant for that, because essentially you are self-employed and you can pick and choose what you want to work and when you want to work. Maybe you want to work 6 days a week, that's absolutely fine. But dentistry allows that flexibility, which is something to think about. It's not something that kind of springs to mind, but think about what kind of life do you want in the future, and will that career fit with it? There's various specialties in dentistry. I won't go into them now because there's so many, but you know, you can go and be a surgeon, you can do gums, you can be just a normal high street dentist. And the brilliant thing about dentistry is you don't have to pick. So even if you're a normal high street dentist, you'll do a little bit of everything. And then maybe you have an interest in kids dentistry. So maybe one day a week you'll go and do kids dentistry. And it's so flexible, and you can absolutely choose and just pick what it is that you want to do and what you might be interested in. And it's really, really great for that. And it's also just constantly evolving. You're never done learning with dentistry. Like, I'll finish this degree and then I'll carry on learning, because everything is constantly moving, it's constantly changing, and it just keeps everything really interesting, really. But what do you need? It's mostly your skills, and it's mostly your personal skills. When they look at you for uni, they don't want to know that you can do a filling. They'll teach you to do a filling. They want to know, can you talk to people? Can you empathize with people? A lot of dentistry is just talking, and it's just getting to know your patients. So if you're very bad at small talk and you're not comfortable chatting to people, that's something you're going to struggle with. And that's what they look for in interviews and things like that. You know, can you empathize? You need to have a decent amount of integrity. You are a professional. You need to have that honesty and that ability. You need to be able to tell the patients the truth. And problem solving. Dentistry is 90% problem solving. People don't come in and say, oh, this is what's wrong. They come in and they tell you, oh, this tooth hurts, and then you need to figure out why. So I love the problem solving side of dentistry. Honestly, it's one of my favorite bits, is working in like the A&E department and just trying to figure out what's wrong. And most importantly, you need drive. It's a 5-year degree, and I won't lie to you, it's hard. It's hard to get in, and it's not an easy degree. You're not going to be going out every night. You're going to be in the library studying, but it is so worth it. And to be honest, getting in is the hardest part. Once you're in, they'll support you and they'll keep you there. So what can you do if you maybe think dentistry is for you? I'd say number one, get some work experience, ideally in a dentist, because I think dentistry is the hardest career to figure out if you like it or not. And the only way to do that is go and spend time with a dentist, go and see what they actually do, go and see what they deal with. You're lucky if you're in Dundee, you've got the dental hospital. Send them emails, get your schools involved, try and get down to your local dentist and just see what goes on, because that will give you the greatest choice to see, is this something I'm actually interested in? Reach is obviously here. If you qualify for Reach, we'll help you. We've got various sort of experience days, and Dental Insight is something that's run by Dundee Dental School every year. Obviously not for the past few, but that is basically a week of work experience and to just get you involved in dentistry. Yeah, dentistry is a hard one to figure out that you actually enjoy it. So go and try and get that experience to get you to know. Chris has kind of covered most of this. You've got what you need. Basically your sciences. Do your sciences and you'll be fine. But the most important one here at the bottom is attitude. Like, you need that hard work. If you really don't enjoy school, are you going to enjoy a 5-year degree that's hard work? And that is something you need to think about. You need to have a good attitude for dentistry. You need to have that drive and to want it, to be honest. The people who struggle at dentistry are the people whose, like, their dad is a dentist and they've been told to go and do dentistry. They're the ones that struggle because they don't have that drive. It's much easier if you actually want it. And again, like, why do I like dentistry? I like the choice. I have so much choice. Once I qualify, I can do so many things within the realm of dentistry, and I don't have to pick one. That's kind of why I like it over medicine. Medicine is very much you pick a career and you go for it. Dentistry, you can do a different thing every day of the week, and it's absolutely fine. I love my patients. You get some great chats. They're all lovely. I mean, you get the occasional person who's terrified of you, but getting that bond with patients is probably one of the most rewarding things that you get out of dentistry. Like I say, I love working with my hands. I love that practical side of it. And if you are looking for something that is hands-on, do have a look into dentistry, because it is much less academic than some other degrees. It really is a practical course. And at the end of the day, every single day is different. Even if I'm doing the same thing, like the same procedure, it's still different. I meet different people, I'm doing something different, I'm solving different challenges. It's a different challenge every day, and I really, really enjoy that variety. That was kind of my quick through dentistry. Yeah.
So thank you both so much for contributing. Good luck, Lizzy, in your career of choice, and I'll be in touch with you again soon, Chris, I'm sure. So unless there's anything else, everybody, that's us finished for just now. Thanks so much.
Thanks very much.
Thanks then. Bye.